I know EVs are supposed to rev and be faster than ICEs, but I'm still going to miss the noise and fury of a gas-powered car. Bad news, folks. We're back from a sneak peek at Hyundai's 641 horsepower Ioniq 5N, and it looks, Hyundai torpedoed this reasonable-sounding anti-EV argument. Where did they hide the engine? We're not just talking fake engine sounds piped through the speakers, although yes, the Ioniq 5N has them, and options include a gas engine soundtrack as good as any PC racing simulator. The killer app is a feature called N-ything, apparently not pronounced N-ything, from the dirty looks we got from the engineers. Using the perfect combination of engine torque and regenerative braking, the N-ything gives the Ioniq 5 the feel, not the sound, of a dual-clutch automatic transmission. The physical feel it creates is the same as Hyundai's own DCT, including some of its less than gentlemanly behavior, such as lurching in response to an ill-timed shift. A digital dash displays an 8,000 RPM tachometer, and acceleration mimics the torque curve of a turbocharged four-cylinder engine. It will even jump over an imaginary limiter and cut all acceleration if the driver forgets to paddle. Combined with synthesized engine sounds, the effect is quite accurate. You can almost convince yourself that Hyundai stuffed one of its N-spec turbo engines into the generous confines of its 2023 SUV, the Ioniq 5. Software can do it all. Well, almost true. N-ything is a useless gimmick that negates the main advantage of an electric car, especially the immediate access to bottomless torque. But it proves a point. Skilled software engineers and a little imagination can make an EV do almost anything a gearbox wants. Well, almost everything. Another feature of the Ioniq 5 is the N-drift optimizer. If you're sensing a theme, you're right. Hyundai has added an N to almost everything the Ioniq 5N does. We're surprised the door handles aren't called N-cabin entry activators. Hyundai claims this feature. For starters, the Ioniq 5N makes it easy to slide. No way. We tested it on a wet skid pad and couldn't sustain a steady slide. Hyundai's engineers were yelling over the radio that the car either spun or straightened despite following instructions. None of the other journalists in our session could catch a drift, and even the engineer who told us he was building the system for beginners like himself couldn't do more than a brief cheat. Yes, we've seen the Ioniq 5 driven by a skilled drifter with N-drift optimizer turned off, and you can too. Still, the Ioniq 5N software does a great job of letting the driver program the torque split. Yes, that has an N name, N torque distribution. You can drive the Ioniq 5N with 100% of its power coming from the rear engine, or feel the effects of a 50-50 split. Or if you love to get behind the wheel and hate fun, race the Ioniq 5 in front-wheel drive mode. Let him do what he will do for all the other N gadgets. We had the most fun both on the Korean International Circuit track and on the road simply by switching the car to aggressive N mode. Disabling N-ything and N-active sound plus. Fake engine noises are heard, and let 5N do what it does. And what he did was nothing short of delicious. The Sport 5 builds on the basic happy nature of the EGMP platform, rolling through curves in a gradual and easy-to-grip manner. The chassis has a nice balance and the tires 235/35 R21 Pirelli P0s feel grippy all round. The steering is quite communicative, with light effort allowing you to drive with your fingertips and understand what the feedback is. The brakes are brilliant, as is the experience through the pedal. Hyundai has done extensive rework here, particularly with the mix of regenerative and friction brakes. Not that the driver can. The brake pedal simply works as expected in any good performance car. If anything, the Ioniq 5 is a bit easier to overdrive. With 641 horsepower, the Ioniq 5N builds up speed so quickly that we repeatedly hit corners with higher speeds. As intended. The silence of the power unit masks the rapid acceleration. You'd be surprised how much we rely on oral feedback when we drive. Come to think of it, maybe those fake engine sounds aren't such a trick after all. Better living with electricity overall. The Ioniq 5N is an impressive track machine and not bad on a twisty road either. We had little opportunity to power through public streets. Blame Korea's strict speed limits and the local drivers who largely obey them, but as with other N cars, there's real brilliance to the chassis. It's even more amazing when you think it's a 2-ton SUV, or just step back and realize how big the damn thing is. That's because Hyundai's engineers did more than just increase power and edit lines of code. The regular Ioniq 5N has plenty of hardware changes, including fitting a modified version of the Genesis GV60's front suspension, a new steering wheel and body shell reinforcement with additional welds and adhesive. The engine and battery cooling systems have also been accelerated, accompanied by user-selectable modes that optimize temperatures for both drift and road use. The latter is set up for a 20-minute track performance and a 20-minute breather. We're sure the anti-EV crowd will latch onto this as proof of ICE superiority. Well folks, you're not wrong. The technology is still evolving. On real roads, the N's ride is noticeably firmer than the regular 5, but not unpleasant. Although the big Pirellis create enough noise to drown out synthesized engine sounds on some road surfaces. One of the things we love about gas-powered N cars is that you can shut down all the high output for a comfortable commute. Ioniq 5N requires less taming, even in N mode. It's nowhere near as punishingly stiff as the Elantra N and Veloster N, and that's great. Those cars do their best cornering jobs in penultimate chassis settings anyway. Ioniq 5 where N needs N-proof complaints. There's a lot of complexity to activating the various N functions, not just through the center screen, but with the many buttons attached to the steering wheel. Despite, or maybe because of, the cheat sheet that Hyundai gave us with dozens of index cards, we had a hard time keeping all the functions straight. No doubt the owner will figure them out over time, but we recommend at least a 3-year lease anyway. Our other big complaint is with iPedal, Hyundai's single pedal control mode. Most braking occurs at the top of the accelerator pedal travel, making modulation difficult. Conversely, the N pedal function, designed for enthusiastic driving, didn't seem to generate enough regen on the track, although it's entirely possible that we've missed settings in most of the N menus.